This section covers a few simple but effective tips to help give you a safer and more efficient day. This video is not a substitute for the appropriate full training required for the operation of all types of lorry loader. It is intended to complement and not replace the need for formal and ongoing training and assessment. Several of the sets of regulations referred to in earlier sections, most notably the Provision and Use of Work Equipment Regulations, or PUA, emphasize the requirement to use equipment for its intended purpose only. If in doubt, refer to the manufacturer's handbook. This section combines advice from BS 7121 Part 4 and the product standard for loader cranes EN 12999 to provide some of the key points in terms of common do's and don'ts. So, let's just take a moment and look at some of these do's and don'ts. Firstly, rated capacity should be understood. The rated capacity plate of the loader allows the operator to work out the capacity of the machine, and subsequently what it can lift at any radius. In simple terms, the first step is to look at the capacity plate and multiply the load which can be lifted at a given radius. For example, if the lorry loader has a maximum radius of 9 meters, at which it can lift 1,000 kilograms or 1 ton, then we multiply them together, and therefore we know that it is a 9-ton meter machine. Once we know this, we can determine that if we wanted to find out what load we can lift at a radius of 3 meters, we divide the known ton-meter capacity, which in our case is 9, by the known required radius of 3. This will tell us that we can lift 3,000 kilograms or 3 tons at that radius. Conversely, if we have a load which weighs 1,500 kilograms or 1.5 tons, we divide our known ton-meter capacity of 9 by the known weight of the load, which will tell us that we should be able to reach approximately 6 meters with that weight. Remember, the use of a grab attachment or lifting accessories is not accounted for in the capacity stated on the lorry loader manufacturer's plate. So the weight of these needs to be taken into consideration and added to the weight of the intended load when calculating what you can lift. It's worth noting that BS 7121 Part 4 states all lifting operations should preferably be planned to 70 to 80% and to an absolute maximum of 90% of the lorry loader's rated capacity. Understanding this will allow you to work out what each loader can lift and at what radius, and so you can place the vehicle correctly in relation to the landing area from the moment you arrive on site, and so preventing unnecessary strain or damage to the lorry loader. Think of it this way. Rated capacity is like the rev counter on your truck. And as you know, although it is possible to operate the engine throughout the full rev range, keeping within the green band gives best performance, economy, and improves the lifespan. Likewise then with a lorry loader, the shortest possible radius you can use, the less strain and wear you're causing to the loader, as you're using it well within its maximum capacity. This will give a significant benefit of its lifespan and maintenance costs. Another benefit of keeping the radius as short as possible at all times is the amount of swing or momentum on the load is reduced, and so this improves stability. Coupled with this is the importance of keeping the load as low as possible at all times. This has several benefits. Firstly, and most importantly, is that should the vehicle start to tip over for any reason, the load will immediately touch the floor and prevent the vehicle from overturning in most cases. Furthermore, there is no risk of anyone getting under the load. And should the load be dropped for any reason, it'll minimize the amount of damage caused. So only try and lift within the stability footprint, an imaginary line between the extended stabilizer and furthermost axle. That's to say, keep the load low until within or close to this. This eliminates any danger of overturning the vehicle. And bringing the load over the head of any personnel is prohibited. And you should also avoid walking under the boom at any time with or without a load. When tipping, ensure the stabilizers are lowered to aid stability, and keep the first and second boom rams in a slightly crabbed position to minimize strain and wear on the lorry loader. In all cases, the operator should ensure they have a clear view of the load, the path being taken, and the load landing area. If this is not achievable, then a signaller will be required. Blind lifting is proven to be dangerous and is prohibited at all times without a signaller. More lorry loaders than ever before are now being specified with radio remote controls. These are a valuable tool which permits the operator to have an improved versatility and positioning, often reducing the number of occasions whereby a signaller may be required. Remote controls not only bring significant benefits, but also some potential hazards, and additional specific training is required for the use of these. A key point to emphasize is the importance of isolating the controls at all times when the loader is not in use, such as attaching a load, in order to prevent the control being inadvertently operated. Likewise, the controls must not be operated while the operator is walking, as this is extremely dangerous. Should the operator need to reposition himself at any point during the lifting operation, he must isolate, reposition, and then reactivate the controls once he is again standing still. With a remote control, it is important not to position yourself between the load and a stationary object such as the vehicle or a building, so there is no risk of accidentally being crushed. Some sites also forbid the use of radio controls due to sensitive electronics or flammable liquids, for example. So in these cases, the umbilical cord or manual controls must be used. Whether you're using a clamshell bucket or hooks, a test lift should be done every time you lift a load from the ground. The purpose of this is to ensure you have the load well balanced and that it's securely held before attempting to maneuver the load. If you are not happy with the load's stability or security, place the load back on the floor and readjust before carrying out another test lift. Clamshell bucket attachments are extremely common and are designed primarily for handling excavated spoil and loose materials, not for digging. The correct way to clamp the load is to position the bucket about half the way down, in terms of its own height, into the product, and then to close it whilst making any fine adjustments. Pressurize it closed for a couple of seconds to ensure the blades are fully flush and there is no seepage. Many clamshell buckets have lifting hooks fitted for use with lifting slings or the attachment of shackles. These hooks are individually marked with their rated capacity. Avoid placing more than one sling in the hook, as this can overcrowd the safety catch and also damage the slings. Instead, fasten the slings to a bow shackle and then attach the shackle to the hook. When cleaning the clamshell bucket, put it in a safe place on the ground to do so. Stepping on or even reaching inside a clamshell bucket is highly dangerous. In addition to carrying out pre-operational checks on all lifting slings and other accessories, they should be also examined before and after each use, as they're subjected to significant wear. If you're in doubt at any time about the condition of a sling or lifting accessory, it should be removed from use and reported to your supervisor. All slings and lifting accessories must also be checked to ensure they're of sufficient capacity for the load to be lifted. Further specific training, both on slinging, signalling, and on all other attachments, is available through the ALMI scheme and is strongly recommended. Non-authorized persons, whether site workers or members of the general public, must never be allowed in the working area or exclusion zone you've established within your cones or barriers. In the event of anyone attempting to enter this area, you must stop immediately, isolate the loader, and challenge them politely. A general rule is that the operator must only take signals from a designated signaller, and that a system of signals must be agreed beforehand. The only exception to this is the emergency stop. Any person, including a member of the public, can give this signal. Should anyone give the emergency stop signal, the stop button should be pressed immediately, and the nature of the problem established. Do not lower the load, as it may be that little Johnny has run underneath to get his ball back. Lorry loaders are designed for the lifting and placing of loads. They should never be used for dragging, pushing, or forcing a load sideways. This is dangerous and can cause significant damage. Never handle a load which is not detailed in your lifting plan or safe system of work. It is not uncommon for sites to ask if you can just do them a quick favor. The consequences, if it goes wrong, are severe, as not only is this a disciplinary offense, but such lifts are not covered under insurance. The lifting of people, or the attachment of people to the lorry loader, is at all times forbidden unless the lorry loader is specifically designed for that purpose. Lifting of people also requires additional detailed training and safe systems of work. Avoid shock loading and aggressive lever movements. As well as creating a risk of instability, they can cause substantial damage to the lorry loader. Do not jump out of the cab. Use the 3 points of contact rule at all times when climbing into or out of the cab or onto any raised workstations. So, to summarize, following the tips in this section will allow you to operate your lorry loader at all times in the safest possible way and in a way which minimizes wear and damage. The manufacturer's handbook should always be referred to and checked against the advice and methods provided in this section. Ensure that the manufacturer's instructions are followed at all times. Take pride in being a safe operator who looks after his machine.